Black people. Let me talk to the black South Africans. Colored people also take note. Listen up and you might learn something. See, the case of colored people, it's much more complicated, much more complex. It's not just a one plus one equal two scenario. See, coloreds are made of different groups. Yes, you do have the white with black mix, Indian with white, colored Chinese, Cape Malay, Arabs. They were that mix where two different people from two different say backgrounds or countries, races came together and made a baby. Yes, but that's a small piece of colored. Colored the designation race designation came from the grouping act of they call it Act 30 of 1950. See, Cape Malay mostly or say majority Muslims. They did not mix or they rarely mixed with people from other religions. So Cape Malay is also like a section or part of the Cape Coloureds, but they are not all. Just like with us, I am Khoi Khoi. These days, I proudly show my hair. I'm not a saint anymore of who I am or what I look like. And some of you, especially the black people, point out to my nose being pointy and being different. It's not broad. If you look at many of my people, my ancestors, or you can just Google search my people, you will see many of us have these small noses and these eyes that looks kind of like fish shaped. You can see my bone structure, my facial features, my hair. This is Khoi Khoi. So we were also labeled colored. See the apartheid, white, oppressive people labeled themselves as Afrikaners while labeling the black Africans Africans. So they labeled us, the Khoi Khoi, Bushman, Kam, Kwe people. They labeled us colored as the same as the others. They were first called colored. You see, Indians, Chinese, Arab, Middle or Southeast Asians, the Malaysians, the Indonesians, they were the original coloreds. They first had the label, not officially, until 1950, but they were colored. So we were also labeled coloreds. So to fall under that, say, slave label, to just own us of our first people rights, of our heritage, of our birthrights as the Aboriginal people, the first indigenous, the say not the first indigenous, the indigenous people of South Africa, to take away our rights. That's why they are labeled Afrikaners. They have their name or their race label are a connection, direct connection to this land, to this country. And Africans, obvious, black people, Africans. And as you will see, college, the majority do have that background are from the how can I say from the have that slave background, slave people that were brought in. And one thing I want to mention is in 2008, I used to go to the library a lot. I would sit on the computers and do some research. And in 2008, I searched the definition of colored. And that time, they were freely available on the internet. Colors were people. The definition, I'm paraphrasing now. The definition were people brought here to work. People that were brought here to work as slaves. So slaves that were brought here from other countries. And in 2009, the next year when I searched that definition again, I couldn't find the definition. If I search it today, I still wouldn't be able to find the definition freely on the internet. I probably have to go like search 100 pages deep on Google to find it, or maybe more. But you won't find the definition freely anymore. But what I want to say is, colors are more than just a black and white mix or combination. Yes, we do have the Trevor Noah cases, but that is not all of us. It's a tiny minority. And like I have a cousin that I have cousins The father were black, the mother were colored. I don't know how far her mother or her colored lineage goes, but if I go back like 3, 4 generations, I wouldn't find a white or a black mix there. And her hair tell me that she is also from European descent. But there's a different case. That's a tiny fraction of the colored people. While people like me, who are also colored, labeled colored, um, we were kicked out of our lands. We were then divided in these groups by design to keep us away from claiming our rights. Like me, another thing that black people always like to mention is if you are Khoi Khoi, if you are Bushman, then speak your language. So now I cannot speak that language. So now I'm not valid. I'm not good enough to be Khoi Khoi. I now because of some people's logic, I am not able to claim my heritage. And here's a little education. You see, colored people, a lot of us have our front teeth pulled out. That is on purpose, yeah. And I'm against that. If you could ask my family members, like my brother, he wanted to have his both front teeth pulled out as some kind of fashion sense, and I were against it and still don't have it, and it's still not out. I'm against it because that were a sort of punishment against my people, because to force us to speak a different language, speak their language, and those of us who refused either had our tongues cut out or our front teeth beaten out as a way of punishing us and forcing us to speak that language. So that's not a proud heritage. That's why I'm against it. And Afrikaans, and a lot of people saying Afrikaans is not a South African language, or it's not a Khoikhoi language. The truth is, it's not a white language. Afrikaans was developed by the indigenous people, by the Khoikhoi, by the Bushman people. That's why we have words like more. More comes from the word moro, which means mornings or hello. And banyak, buyer. Buyer is also a word for that were made or created from Khoikhoi. As we people like Kediero or Tomato used to trade with different people from different countries all over the world. But buyer, I'm not sure where it comes from, but um, it comes from the word banyak. And we developed the language with Dutch origins and English and Kwekwe Gewap, but we created that language. Afrikaans is a Khoikhoi language that we developed to be able to communicate better. And it developed mostly the time of slavery when we were slaves to be able to communicate. As how we were forced to learn that the white colonizers' language. But Afrikaans is actually a language developed by us to help us, liberate us. That's why people like Kotoa, known by the white people as Eve of the of the Boeren. She was the first um, political prisoner, first person to have been imprisoned on Robben Island long before Nelson Mandela and other people were imprisoned on Robben Island. She was the first freedom fighter. And the language also can be contributed to her because she also helped develop that the Afrikaans language. But Afrikaans is all style. But that's probably too much information. I'll continue. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free. But please be respectful. En I thank you. Duidelijk.